Welcome back. This is Fables Adventures, your podcast of daily audio stories taken from the iOS app of the same name. Today, we've got a taut, psychologically intense political thriller told entirely in second person, placing you in Elena Cross's position as she navigates fractured mirrors, diplomatic deceptions, and the terrible weight of knowing that speaking the truth will cost her the only friendship that's ever felt real. Hit like, subscribe to our channel, or comment as to what you're enjoying about our stories here. If you want to download the app, there's a link in the description. For now, enjoy The Weight of Invisible Truth.
You're standing in front of the bathroom mirror when you realize you don't recognize the woman looking back. It's not that she's changed. The sharp cheekbones are still yours. The dark eyes still catch light the same way they always have. But something in the architecture of her face has shifted. You've gotten better at lying, maybe, or worse at pretending you don't see through everyone else's. The ballroom is waiting. They're always waiting. You smooth the navy silk against your ribs, fabric worn soft from too many nights like this one, and you step back into the corridor. The mirrors lining the walls fracture your reflection into pieces as you walk. In one, you're whole. In the next, you're split down the middle. In the next, you don't exist at all. This is what your gift looks like in the half-light. Marcus finds you at the edge of the crowd, exactly where you've learned to position yourself. Visible enough to be useful. Far enough away to observe without being drawn into the machinery of small talk. He's been your colleague for 6 years. Your friend, you thought, until 30 minutes ago when you watched him shake hands with the Russian delegation and felt the precise geometry of his deception bloom in the space between his teeth. Elena. He touches your elbow, the same touch he's used 1,000 times, now contaminated. You look tired. You smile. You've learned to smile even when you taste copper. Long week, you say, and it's true in ways he'll never understand. Every interaction is a language he doesn't speak. Every hidden agenda a text you read fluently while everyone else squints at the surface. You are, in the most literal sense, exhausted from seeing. The Accord vote tomorrow. He's testing something. You feel it like a hook beneath your ribs. Do you think it will pass? He already knows the answer. That's not what he's asking. What he's actually asking is, do you know? What he's actually asking is, will you tell? You take a sip of champagne that tastes like betrayal. All champagne tastes like betrayal at events like this. It's just that tonight, you know, why? The memory hits you like a migraine. Marcus, 3 years ago, sitting across from you in a cafe in Geneva, rain streaking the windows. He'd just gotten the position at the organization, and he was shaking, actually trembling, with the weight of it. I want to do good work, he'd said, and you'd believed him because the words were true even if the future wasn't. You can always tell the difference between a lie and a truth, spoken by someone who hasn't yet become who they'll need to be to survive. You'd put your hand over his on the table. You'd said, then do it. What a naive thing to say to someone you could read like a book, written in a language most people never learn. The ballroom swallows you both. Around you, the architecture of power performs its ancient dance. Ambassadors in clusters like chess pieces, aides hovering with the hunger of remoras, security details melting into the guilt and shadow. The peace accord hangs over everything. Fragile, necessary, almost possible. 2 nations on the edge of something catastrophic, and this room is the only thing holding them back from the precipice. Marcus moves through it like he's always belonged here, like his skin fits. You've been reading the Accord for weeks. 72 pages of compromise and careful language, each paragraph a small miracle of negotiation. The Environmental Protections Clause took 4 months to hammer out. The trade sanctions framework cost one deputy secretary's entire credibility. The reparations language, that was you, a bridge you built word by word, syllable by syllable, between two nations that wanted to forget what they'd done to each other. Tomorrow, it goes to the vote. Tomorrow, it passes, or the machinery of diplomacy grinds itself to a halt for another decade, unless Marcus makes sure it doesn't. You catch him in the hallway outside the ballroom, narrow, lined with those fractured mirrors that make you look like a haunted thing. "We need to talk," you say. He doesn't ask what about. He knows. You know. That's the terrible thing about being readable to someone like you. There's no point in pretending. It's like trying to hide from someone who can see in the dark. "Not here," he says quietly. "Yes, here." Your voice is surgical, sparse. You learned a long time ago that the most devastating truths need the fewest words. The accord. You're going to vote against it. Elena. You're going to convince the Tanzanian delegation to abstain. The abstentions kill it. 2 weeks of work on your part. You've been meeting with them since the accord entered its final phase. You've been feeding them information, specific information about the reparations language, the parts that don't quite benefit their interests. You pause. The silence between you tastes like copper. They don't know you're doing it on someone else's behalf. They think it's their own good judgment. Marcus's jaw tightens. For a moment, he's not your friend anymore. He's a stranger who happens to wear a familiar face. "How long have you known?" he asks. "Since you met with the Russian delegation. I can always tell when someone's playing a deeper game." You get very still inside. You step closer. The mirrors multiply both your reflections, endlessly. "Who is it? Who's pulling your strings?" He laughs, a sound like breaking glass. "You really don't get it, do you? Nobody's pulling my strings. I'm not some puppet." "Then why?" "Because the accord is a joke." His voice drops. You have to lean in to hear it, and that's how it should be. This conversation belongs in the shadows. Because it protects the wrong people. Because the reparations language looks generous, but it's just enough to make everyone feel morally satisfied without actually fixing anything. Because in 6 months, we'll be right back here, pretending we solved something when all we did was manage the optics. You know he's telling you the truth. You can taste it beneath the anger. You also know he's lying to himself. "So you're sabotaging it," you say quietly. "I'm preventing a disaster." He meets your eyes. "And now you have to decide whether you're going to stop me." The weight of it settles on your shoulders like snow. This is the moment you've been terrified of since you were 16 years old and realized that you could see people, truly see them, past the careful construction of who they wanted to be. This is the moment where your gift becomes a curse with teeth. This is where you isolate yourself completely, where you validate every whispered suspicion that Elena Cross knows too much, and it's made her strange, made her dangerous, made her the kind of person who destroys friendships with impossible knowledge. Or you let it happen. You let Marcus walk back into that ballroom tomorrow and vote against the accord. You let 2 nations spin back into uncertainty. You let the careful architecture of negotiation collapse because you were too tired, too afraid, too exhausted from carrying the weight of other people's true intentions. You stand in the hallway, surrounded by fractured mirrors. You think about Marcus in that cafe, shaking with the weight of wanting to do good. You think about who he could still become if he chose to. "Come with me," you say. What? Come with me, right now. We're going to the secure office. We're going to record everything you know about this operation, who approached you, what they promised, what they threatened. We're going to bring it to the director, and then we're going to find a way to save the Accord anyway, because that's what we actually came here to do. He stares at you. You'll destroy me. Yes, you say, and your voice is steady. But I won't destroy the Accord, and maybe you'll get to be the person you wanted to be when you were shaking in that cafe, instead of the person someone else decided you should become. Marcus doesn't move. For a long moment, neither do you. Then he says, very quietly, I don't know if I can do that. I know, you tell him, but I'm going to ask you to try. You don't get to know what he chooses, not immediately. That's not how these things work. The weight of seeing everyone's true intentions is that you can never control what they do with the truth. Once it's spoken, you can only speak it, and then watch and carry the burden of knowing you tried. Marcus follows you down the corridor. Your reflections walk beside you in the mirrors, fractured and multiplied, looking like 1,000 versions of the same impossible conversation. The ballroom recedes behind you, all gilded mirrors and crystal light. Somewhere in that suffocating elegance, the machinery of power waits. Tomorrow it will turn toward justice or toward silence. Tomorrow an accord will pass or fail. But tonight, in this narrow hallway lined with broken glass and honest truths, you've done the only thing you know how to do. You've told the truth, even though it costs you everything. And somewhere in that act, in the terrible, exhausting clarity of it, you feel something shift. Not lightness exactly, but the smallest possibility of it, the faintest shadow of relief. You keep walking.
Thanks for listening to our story today. Our stories at Fables Adventures are created using the Fables Adventures app for iOS, available for both the iPhone and the iPad. And if you have enjoyed the story that you have just heard and want to create stories like this of your own, head over to the Apple App Store and download the app for yourself. There is a link in the description. You can also read the full text of the story that you have just heard at the link in the description of this story as well. Hit like, subscribe to our channel, and please leave us a comment about what you enjoyed about today's story. It really helps. We're trying to do something here at Fables Adventures to support people living with ALS or motor neuron disease, simply by creating content like this for you all to enjoy. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you tomorrow.